Hello S2. I want to talk to you about books. It's really important that you continue to read in lockdown. In fact, it's an expectation from the English department that you read during lockdown. Even if it's just 5-10 minutes just before you put your lamp off at night time, just to keep your reading skills going and also just to enjoy it, and it's good for your relaxing at night and get to sleep. I'm going to share a couple of books with you and some ideas. Now, some of you might be lucky enough to have books at home, or some of you might be lucky enough to have a Kindle or some sort of device that you can download books. So I'm going to give you some suggestions for reading. My two daughters are reading at the moment. They're about 12, 13, 14 years old. My daughter is reading this one. This is called Throne of Glass and is about a female assassin who is taken from a prison mine at the very beginning, and she's selected by the prince to be her champion in a fighting competition, and she's called Selena Sardothian. And if you like an adventure story with girls who are a bit fierce, a bit kick-ass, then this is a book for you. My other daughter is reading this one called The Light Jar, and she was telling me it's about a boy who is left alone in a big house by his mum, and his mum goes out and doesn't come back, which sounds a bit spooky and a bit eerie. And I think as a result he begins to talk to his imaginary friend that he had from years ago, and she said it's quite an interesting book. So these are two. The other ones I've selected are the isolation theme, which you've remembered me talking about in the past. This is one which pupils of mine have loved in the past. It's called Gone, and it's about one day pupils are sitting in class when all of a sudden, poof, all the adults in the world disappear. Now you might think that sounds amazing, and it is to begin with, but then things start going in fire. People are driving cars at the time, and everybody under 15 years of old who survived has to find a way of coping. So this book is a really popular one by Michael Grant. It's part of a series. It is a bit chunkier, but it's a really gripping start. Another one, which is absolutely tattered and wrecked, you can see, because it's one of my most popular books, is a zombie story. I personally hate zombie stories. I find them too spooky. But this one, with its lovely red pages, is called The Undead. It's by a Scottish artist called Kirsty Mackay, and it's set in somewhere like Aviemore on a school trip when all of a sudden at a service station people start banging on the bus, but they are not people, and some of them are their schoolmates who've been turned into zombies. So this is quite a good spooky one if you like that, although I find it too creepy. This is another quite short one. If you kind of like a kind of younger style read, it's by Katherine Rundell. You might have heard of her before, and this is called The Explorer, and it's about 4 children who find themselves in an aeroplane crash in the middle of the Amazon, and it's a bit of a survival story. There's lots of dangerous animals that they have to escape from to survive, but it's also a really good one. I love a Katherine Rundell book. And the last one is a book by Sarah Crossan. Sarah Crossan is my favourite children's writer. She's written a book called Once, which is about two girls who were conjoined twins, and she's written quite a few, and over the couple of videos I'll be recommending more Sarah Crossan. Sarah Crossan is very popular because she writes about all different types of characters, but she also writes in poem, in verse. So if I show you, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but it doesn't necessarily rhyme, but she writes it in the form of prose. So as you can see in poetry, which means a lot of her books, you can read them really quickly. This one in particular is about a girl who becomes homeless, and she stumbles into a house and finds a house to stay in where there's a lady who has dementia, and a really lovely friendship develops, and it's got its really happy bits, but it's also got its really sad bits. So this was my favourite book of last year that I recommended to lots of people to read. So lots to look at. I've said this was the last, but I've got another really short one here. It's by Maurice Gleitzman. If you like reading stories about the Second World War, then this is a really poignant story. It's part of a series, and it's called Once. And it starts about a little boy who leaves an orphanage at the start to find his mum and dad during the Second World War. He doesn't know what happened to his mum and dad. They sent him to the orphanage to try and protect him and and save him from the Nazis because they owned a bookshop. And this is this boy's adventure to go and find them. And it's called Once because at the start of every chapter, it starts with once. Once I was living in an orphanage in the mountains and I shouldn't have been, and I almost caused a riot. It was because of the carrot. And it goes on about how he then leaves the orphanage, and every other chapter is once. So it's quite a different viewpoint, a different narration from a young child's viewpoint experiencing the Holocaust. Okay, so hopefully I have given you some ideas to read, and what I'd like you to do, you have homework for this week, but I would also like you to send me a picture or just one line on Show My Homework of what book you're reading at the moment and what you think of it. So that's all you need to do. You want to take a screenshot if it's a book online, or if it's a book in the home, take a picture and send me on Show My Homework, and I can't wait to find out what you're reading. Bye now.